After over a year of hibernation, Wangshen Funeral Parlor's 77th director Hu Tao makes her return for her second rerun banner. Featured alongside Yelan, the combination of these two and their weapons makes for the most anticipated rerun banner in Genshin's history. Setting the standard for pyro characters, Hu Tao remains the queen for on-field vaporized DPS, boasting some of the most impressive single-target DPS teams possible. YouTube frogs, welcome to an updated 3.4 Hu Tao guide covering the most essential information you'll need to burn and bleed your enemies away. We'll be covering her talents, attack rotation, optimal weapons and artifacts, constellations, and team comps alongside a gameplay showcase. Let's begin. From C0 to C6, Hu Tao's role is an on-field pyro DPS with ICD ignoring charge attacks. While she is known to be an HP scaling character, the truth is that she converts her HP into a very large amount of attack and maintains multipliers that are attack based. So while attack percent sources do still benefit her, they are 33 to 50% less effective than an equivalent amount of HP percent. With the release of Sumeru and Dendro, her gameplay hasn't changed that much. Her value is still maximized in single target situations running vaporized related comps. The focus of her kit centers around her elemental skill. At the cost of 30% of her current HP, she converts a percent of her max HP to increase her attack. This then scales into her normal and charge attacks, which are responsible for the multipliers of her general damage. And then her burst acts as an end of rotation nuke and or source of emergency healing and iframe usage. Let's dive into some necessary details. Elemental skill, Hu Tao's essential conversion ability, but not her highest priority talent. Upon activation, she enters the PP or Paramita Papilio state, granting her Pyro Infusion and HP conversion to attack. This HP conversion cannot exceed 400% of her base attack, which is the white number in every character's attribute details page, combining base attack of their weapon and the character's base attack, but does not include the flat or attack percent sources, which is the green number. 400% of her base attack does pose a hard cap to her max HP, which TLDR should not be over 42,000 HP. Anything above 42,000 HP Hu Tao, which includes all buffs and resonance, is a complete waste. Charge attacks during this state will leave a bleed mark that deals pyro damage every 4 seconds. Standard duration is 9 seconds with a 16-second cooldown, extendable to about a 10 to 11-second duration, accounting for hit lag. Once this ability goes on cooldown, the rest of your party gains 12% crit rate, courtesy of her Ascension 1 passive. Normal and charge attacks. 80 to 90% of Hu Tao's DPS comes from normal charge attacks. There's nothing inherently special going on here, but it is her highest priority talent investment because it has better multiplier scaling than her elemental skill conversion. Her charge attack is the most important multiplier here. Besides being very strong, it also ignores ICD for element application, meaning she can vaporize every single charge attack. Combined with Constellation 1's quality of life, she can abuse charge attack spamming and dash canceling for a majority of her rotation. Elemental Burst, Hu Tao's end of rotation nuke, emergency source of healing, plus iframe, and only source of AoE damage. It is preferred to be used end of rotation since it does heal Hu Tao, very likely pushing her above 50% HP and rendering her A4 passive 33% pyro damage bonus useless. Its multiplier is very strong and able to vaporize upwards of 7 digits of damage in fully willed out situations. General talent investment, normal charge attack greater than or equal to elemental skill, greater than optionally equal to elemental burst. So the elemental burst really depends on how often you're using it, as most of her damage comes from the combination of her elemental skill plus normal charge attack multipliers. So the more that you use her burst, the more that you should invest into it, but not over her other talents. Attack rotation. So Hu Tao is one of the more mechanically intensive units to master when it comes to her attack rotation. Better you are at her rotation, the higher your DPS ceiling is. And here is where C0 versus C1 makes an important distinction. At C0, you are relegated to jump canceling every charge attack for maximum effectiveness. Either N1C jump or N2C jump is possible, meaning 1 or 2 normal attacks before the charge attack and then jump canceling it and repeating. Without C6 Xingqiu, it is advisable to only run N1C to reduce the counter of power applications from Hu Tao's normal attack, overriding Xingqiu's hydro application. C1. Since charge attack no longer uses stamina, dash canceling every charge attack is possible. So either N1C dash or N2C dash are fine, with the same reasons as above to use N1C dash without C6 Xingqiu. On average, you can expect 7 to 9 total N1C or N2C jump cancels, and 9 to 10 N1C or N2C dash cancels. The better you are at these combos, the more attacks you'll be getting off, and the more DPS you'll be doing. Weapons. So for Hu Tao, there's like 2.5 things to really consider. Assuming you're running Vaporized Hu Tao, which you should be, Elemental Mastery becomes one of her highest value stats to get for the first leg of the race. After that, you can pile on the crit and some HP percent and she's good to go. Here are the most practical choices that I would recommend for general use. 5-star Staff of Homa. Crit damage, HP percent, attack conversion from HP, just like her elemental skill, best in slot. What it lacks, Elemental Mastery, so prioritize either a committed Elemental Mastery timepiece or a large chunk from substats. 5-star Staff of Scarlet Sands. Recently released, it's pretty impressive. Huge crit rate boost and a little Elemental Mastery to attack conversion. Though Hu Tao isn't able to fully gain value from this passive, this weapon still proves comfortably easy to build on with a higher priority on Elemental Mastery. 5-star Jade Spear. Decent enough to be used with a crit rate boost and lower efficiency attack stacking on the passive. 4-star Dragon's Bane. Elemental Mastery stat stick and a very simple passive damage boost. One of the most efficient non-5-star weapon boosts for Hu Tao's that I've been reviewing recently, providing a healthy amount of Elemental Mastery and letting crit come from artifacts. 4-star Lithic Spear. With the release of Yelan and Double Hydro existing, Hu Tao is able to receive a 4-stack buff on this weapon, with the previously mentioned and Zhongli, making it a huge attack and crit rate stat stick easy to build around. Recommended R5 for 4-stack at 28% crit rate. 4-star Deathmatch, just a huge crit rate stat stick and a teeny bit of attack percent from the passive. 3-star White Tassel, the true F2P pull-on for Hu Tao. If you don't have this yet, praying you still have some Leah chests to open up for them. 4-star Blacklift pull if you've really got nothing else to use. Overall, I would say that these 8 weapons cover 99% of Hu Tao builds in the game. I would really only recommend the top 6 though. White Tassel and Blacklift are like last resorts. Any other pole arm is completely inferior to these. Now for artifacts and stat priority. From C0 to C6, her scaling is built upon HP converted to attack multipliers, which are affected by crit and pyro general damage bonuses, and elemental mastery when vaporized. Because she deals so much vaporized damage at a consistent rate, we want to prioritize the first 100 to 200 elemental mastery before heavily investing in the usual crit. Her best 4-piece artifact set choice still remains 4-piece Crimson Witch after all of this. While she can't 3-stack the 4-piece passive, the overall stats are still by far more useful than any other 4-piece in the game. For those that have remained in the emblem domain for eternity, you probably have a decent 4-piece Shipanawa set. Excellent to use on Hu Tao, more focused on her charge attack damage, less reliant on burst uptime. If you don't have either of those 4-piece sets, but you have been farming new Sumeru artifacts, 4-piece Gilded Dreams can provide a healthy amount of elemental mastery to her build so that you can ignore it from her weapon and on her artifact stats. It's definitely a more unique choice, but definitely more viable than some may think. Otherwise, any combination of these 2-piece sets will work for general use. They are within small margin of each other. 2-piece Crimson Witch for Pyro, 2-piece Wanderer Flower Gilded for EM, 2-piece Tenacity for HP, and if you really haven't prepared artifacts for her, she can use any 2-piece attack percent. The jump from these 2-piece combos to a committed 4-piece is at least 10% in DPS, so it's worth to move if you're sacrificing only 15 to 20 crit value. If your 2-piece combo is 20 crit value better than your 4-piece set, stick to that combo and don't switch to the 4-piece. Main stat choices. Because of Hu Tao's value gained from Elemental Mastery, our artifacts will depend on the type of weapon you're using. Timepiece, Elemental Mastery, or HP percent. Nothing is primarily better here. Scarlet Sands users will be running Elemental Mastery Timepiece all the way. Dragon's Bane users will be running HP Timepiece. Anything else depends on your Elemental Mastery substats, the overall Timepiece difference if you have both types, team buffs, and any other miscellaneous stuff. Most of the time, Elemental Mastery Timepiece will be preferred because it's an instant 187 EM and makes substat priority much easier. A perfect optimized Hu Tao will be running an EM timepiece. Goblet, Pyro. HP or attack don't even come close due to how high Hu Tao's natural bulk is and how high her attack gets naturally from her E. No other consideration besides pyro damage bonus. Mass, crit. Yeah, that's literally it. Please though, prioritize the crit rate. The amount of times I review Hu Tao's running 50 crit rate with like 250 plus crit damage is way too high. Alright, baseline build with weapons and artifacts is complete. Here's my recommendation of stat thresholds. Hu Tao has crit damage ascension. Staff of Homa is also crit damage. So I'll make these ranges a little more forgivable because crit rate has to come from her weapon and artifact stats, and if it's not from her weapon, then it has to come from artifacts. HP, 25k and higher. Elemental Mastery, 100 and higher. If you're using a crit weapon, 60 to 90% crit rate. Yeah, I know, mine's barely 60 with 250 crit damage, even though I just flamed it. I know. Listen, I'm working on it, okay? 160 to 250% or higher crit damage. If you're using an Elemental Mastery weapon, Dragon's Bane, 60 crit rate minimum, 140 crit damage minimum. Ascending her to 90 is not a must, but it's pretty nice for the base HP and attack and crit damage ascension. Constellations. So at C0, Hu Tao is fully playable but pretty mechanically intensive. Charge jump cancel is something that really good players will not have a problem with, but more casual players may be dissuaded by the amount of attention and precision needed to output full value Hu Tao. This is really the only thing that changes for her gameplay when it comes to her Constellations. C1 allows you to charge dash cancel instead of charge jump cancel. This makes her attack rotation a lot easier, as well as increases her DPS ceiling higher. While it is not necessary, I think most people can agree that this makes her a lot more enjoyable to play and execute combos with. You can also use C1 to recover your stamina by just not dashing and doing a standard N1C or N2C. This means that even if you activate it with 0 stamina, you can still charge attack, which is pretty huge. C2. Her bleed gains max HP % damage bonus. This is actually quite significant, but it only happens every 4 seconds on marked enemies, so you might not notice it as much. C3 is C5 plus 3 levels. C4. Killing a marked enemy grants crit rate plus 12% to the party, not herself. It's basically an extension of her Ascension 1 passive. C6, she gets a pseudo undying effect every 60 seconds if her HP is in lethal range or less than 25% HP. The 100% crit rate bonus is mostly for damage per screenshot showcases, where you can run 300% plus crit damage Hu Tao with like no crit rate and nuke a huge amount of burst damage. In practical situations though, this doesn't change how you build her, since the uptime of this ability is 16%, 10 seconds uptime with a 60-second downtime, even if you use it perfectly once per minute. So yeah, the only constellation that really matters for Hu Tao is Constellation 1. Everything else is just because she's your favorite character or you like her a lot. So, besides the introduction of Yelan into the game, Hu Tao's team comps for the most part remain unchanged. She is optimal in a Vaporize-oriented team comp, of which there are several variations to consider. Double Hydro plus Flex, consisting of Hu Tao, both Xingqiu and Yelan. This is one of the strongest and probably most common Hu Tao team comp that floats around. Xingqiu and Yelan complement each other, providing basically permanent Hydro application against whatever enemy Hu Tao is targeting. Double Hydro grants the team 25% HP buff, assisting Hu Tao with meeting balanced stat distribution and allowing to focus more on elemental mastery. Xingqiu provides comfortable resistance to interruption, and Yelan's Ascension 4 passive grants Hu Tao a ramping damage increase. Combined with Zhongli as the final slot to boost both Pyro and Hydro DPS with his shield resistance reduction and provide insane survivability, or running Anemo support like Kazuha to swirl Hydro for the double Hydro off-field burst DPS increase, you get an insanely powerful single target oriented team comp that can melt any bulky boss in the game. Solo Hydro plus Flex. The core involving Hu Tao plus Xingqiu, or Yelan obviously. These are the original options available to Hu Tao before Yelan was introduced. Double Geo variation includes Zhongli plus Albedo, or less commonly Yunjin, if performing more intensive N2 charge combos. Albedo acts as a passive off-field DPS, and whenever his burst is available can set up to provide 125 elemental mastery from his Ascension 4 passive. Yunjin doesn't benefit Hu Tao's charge attack, but provides a noticeable increase to her normal attacks when her burst is active. Double Geo Resonance provides additional plus 15% increased damage dealt as well. Double Cryo variation includes 2 additional cryo off-field supports to support the Vape synergy by additionally providing some freeze crowd control as well as melts. One cryo can prioritize some sort of shielding for survivability like Diana or Layla, and the other can provide some sort of utility that benefits Hu Tao. Rosaria for crit rate boost, for example, Kaya or Ganyu for off-field general cryo application, etc. And finally, the Viridescent Venerer Vaporize rotation. So this includes 1 Anemo Swirler plus 1 additional Pyro. There's very lack of survivability in this team comp, so you're utilizing dashes and iframes for this. This is also more mechanically intensive to pull off properly with optimal DPS output. The idea is to swirl both Pyro and Hydro to buff both Hu Tao and your Hydro DPS, Xingqiu or Yelan, before Hu Tao starts her rotation. This can be done either with Yelan or Xingqiu's burst, alongside the assisting 4-slot Pyro and Anemo who can swirl twice in quick succession, usually Kazuha or Sucrose. Commonly achieved with Amber on Elegy, it's also possible with Bennett or Toma, but much less optimal. And while the DPS ceiling for this comp is very high, the introduction of Yelan and the simplicity of Double Hydro makes this more of a labor of love comp than an optimal DPS comp. And that concludes an updated full guide for Hu Tao for patch 3.4. She's an insanely strong power DPS that continues to set the standard for vaporized DPS output for the rest of the Genshin roster. While she is mechanically intensive, mastering her rotations gives immediate acknowledgement when you shred the enemy with massive charge attack vaporizes. I'm wishing all Hu Tao wanters to be Hu Tao havers this rerun. Thanks as always for watching, let me know what you think of her in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Yum, 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 yum.